Hi, you're wondering why I'm doing my presentation this way. I'll tell you in a sec. Yes, public speaking anxiety. In this research, I'm going to compare face-to-face and self-recorded video presentation. The self-recorded is what I'm doing right now. Um, what is public speaking anxiety? We all know about this, so I'm not going to explain too much. It's just in one sentence, it's a fear of speaking in front of a group of people. I'm sorry, I can't look at the camera because I'm reading the slides. Um, there are a lot of physical and psychological reactions that are involved. Um, for example, intense feelings of anxiety, worriness, nervousness, and cloudiness, just forgetfulness. And eventually, the best solution for these people is probably avoidance. And public speaking anxiety is the most common fear in the general population, and there has been a lot of studies on that. Um, When we talk about speech anxiety, the first thing that comes to our mind is just the moment we are presenting um, to a bunch of people. But in the study done by Mikrosky in 1976, um, um, anxiety in general, especially speech anxiety, was divided into three stages: pre, during, and post. Pre is the feelings you get in advance, like before the event. So, and a lot of like mostly emotional. It's like, what am I gonna do? The the feeling of not being good enough. During, we know what happens. It's just mostly like physical reactions, and post is the worriness that you have after. Is like, what if I did a bad job? What if I wasted people's time? And the other just negative thoughts. Okay, reason for public anxiety disorder, and like many other anxieties, there are a lot of theories out there, but mostly the reasons are a combination of environmental and genetic factors. Why study speaking anxiety? Because it's in one short sentence, it's very important because anxiety can stop your life. If you have like an academic life, it can stop your learning process, your goals, your education, and everything. And if you have a job, then you just um, avoid some certain positions. And basically, you need a solution or an alternative option. The central aim of this study, um, in simple terms, I just want to know if self-recorded video will reduce the level of anxiety in the person with public speaking anxiety. Um, is this going to be a good educational experience? Expected outcome of my study, I do expect to see this as a positive experience. Um, uh, I think it will reduce the anxiety level of people um, who take this as an option. Um, there are many reasons for it, but mainly it's because of the emotional processing theory approach that has worked in many similar situations before. And the principles of EPT are consistent with this experiment. Um, Emotional processing theory was offered by Langs in 1977, basically like the foundation of it, and then it was expanded by Fo and Kozak in 1985. So the bottom line is that when you are scared of something, when you have a kind of like an anxiety or phobia, you made an association between the feared stimulus and the response. When you are exposed to the same situation, but you see a different response to the same situation, but in a different way, for example, like a modified version of the same stimulus, and you're not threatened in the same way, eventually you make a new association between a stimulus and the response, and in the long run, this would change your behavior and your thoughts. The stimulus in this study is presentation, because I'm gonna have two groups and both of them have to present a 5-minute presentation, and the presenter knows that the video will be played in class in front of the group and will be evaluated. However, two features of the new stimulus, which is presentation, will be no fear of limited opportunity. So, for example, if I screw up with the presentation, I can stop it, delete it, and do it again. And of course, no audience pressure. But when this is recorded, it's going to be played in front of the class. And I know I'm going to be there. I know it's going to be evaluated. And everything else would be the same. It's just the stimulus in this case is a little bit milder. It's just less pressure, but same fear, basically. So the 4 principles here are: the network is activated. The person with the self-recorded video in the self-recorded group has to present eventually in front. The presentation is played in front of the people, so the network is activated because the person has a chance to do this over and over again, so has a chance of prolonged exposure. As I explained, the new information will be encoded, and eventually, if this works, some negative beliefs would be disconfirmed. Research questions: does SRV presentation reduce public speaking anxiety in people with different levels of anxiety? Number 2, will students consider SRV presentation a positive educational experience? And my null hypothesis: SRV and F2F, face-to-face presentation experience, induced the same level of anxiety in people. And my alternative hypothesis: self-recorded video presentation induces less anxiety in people with public speaking anxiety. My other null hypothesis: self-recorded video does not create a positive educational experience. And alternative: it does create a positive educational experience. My variables: there are 2 kinds of variables. Independent variables are face-to-face presentation and self-recorded video presentation. Dependent variable: the anxiety level during the speech. The way I'm gonna do this experiment, I will have 50 students from various post-secondary institutions, hopefully UBC, SFU, and Capilano. All the participants will go through a screening process. This is because this experiment is about communication apprehension, basically anxiety. I want to make sure no other anxieties or disorders are involved. So for example, people don't have obsessive compulsive disorder, depression, hostility, paranoid identity, and other symptoms. So I will use SCL90R. It's called the Symptoms Checklist 90 Revised. Number 2, the second step is that then the participants will be randomly assigned to one of the 2 groups of face-to-face or self-recorded video. And then they will be assigned a topic for a 5-minute presentation 2 to 4 weeks in advance, so they can get prepared for it. What I'm going to do in terms of measurement, I'm going to measure the anxiety level at 3 different stages: before, during, and after. And I will do that for both groups, because at the end I'm going to compare the pre scores of both, the during scores of both, and post scores of both. However, the tests I'm going to use for pre and post will be different from the instrument I'm going to use for during the anxiety during this speech. For pre and post, for both groups, I'm going to use PRCS, and a personal report of confidence as a public speaker, and fear of negative evaluation. The other one, which is specifically for during, is going to be self-statement during public speaking scale, SSPS. But it's basically done, but what I'm going to mention, I'm going to check the time here, 2-3 more minutes. At the end of the experiment, I realized computer anxiety could be another factor, because I'm going to run some workshops and teach people how to use specific softwares for recording, for editing, and stuff like that. So I want to make sure people are comfortable. So there is a test which is called Computer Self-Efficacy Scale for Adults, CSESA. So I'm going to use that pre and post workshops to make sure people get satisfactory results. So that means they're very comfortable. So that anxiety wouldn't be another factor in this study. At the end, I'm going to just give people a short survey to see if they had a positive educational experience. It's just a yes or no question, and also gender. Data analysis, I already explained it. It's going to be an independent samples t-test and one-tailed, because I'm just interested in less anxiety. That's my hypothesis. The second group, SRV, will have less anxiety. I might want to use a chi-square test of independence to see the relationship between the survey results and if it was an a positive educational experience, and with gender. Benefits of this study: if this is the results are positive, like people end up with less anxiety, then it would be a very good option. And potential threats to validity, sample size, and other factors like environmental, emotional, physical, and ethical considerations. We all know about them. And that's it. Thanks for watching.